Hey guys, have you ever walked away from a conversation with someone who seems absolutely perfect on the outside, yet you find yourself feeling completely drained, anxious, and deeply questioning your own sanity? Most people spend their entire lives chasing the approval of individuals who secretly take pleasure in causing chaos behind closed doors, never realizing the invisible danger right in front of them. It is a harsh reality that we often share our most vulnerable moments and place our deepest trust in people, only to slowly discover that they are the very source of our daily turmoil and exhaustion. You might be dealing with a coworker who always knows exactly what to say to light up the office, a friend who seems endlessly charming at every neighborhood barbecue, or even a close family member who paints a picture-perfect life for the rest of the world to see. On the surface, they are the life of the party, witty, engaging, and seemingly interested in your life. But underneath that flawless, magnetic mask lies a dark and calculating nature that feeds directly on your emotional energy. We are not just talking about someone having an occasional bad day or displaying a few quirky, extroverted personality traits. We are diving deep into a frightening psychological territory to uncover the masterful deception of individuals who use their charisma as a hidden weapon against you. For thousands of years, the greatest minds have warned us about these very people. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood the profound danger of allowing such toxic forces to infiltrate our inner circle. They firmly believed in the power of perception and the importance of living a life guided by reason and virtue. Knowing that our peace of mind is our most valuable possession. Think about the last time you interacted with someone who made you feel like you were constantly walking on eggshells, where every single word you spoke was somehow subtly twisted, and your grasp on reality was repeatedly called into question. You try to rationalize their behavior, telling yourself that maybe you are just being too sensitive, overreacting, or simply misremembering how things happened. But that heavy, exhausting feeling in the pit of your stomach tells an entirely different story. What you are experiencing is not an accident or a misunderstanding. It is a highly calculated tactic by someone actively hiding their true, malevolent nature. Today, we are going to look far beyond the superficial surface and use the timeless, rational wisdom of Stoicism to decode this highly deceptive behavior. Understanding these deeply hidden red flags can literally be life-changing for your mental health and overall well-being. By learning to observe with a clear mind, completely unclouded by the initial excitement of their charm, you will finally begin to see the subtle cracks in their carefully constructed facade. If you have ever found yourself standing in the corner of a crowded room watching a charismatic person effortlessly captivate everyone around them while a quiet voice in your head tells you that something is terribly wrong with their energy, then this message is specifically for you. You are not overly sensitive, and you are certainly not imagining things. If you have always valued genuine authenticity over superficial charm, and if you have ever felt completely exhausted by the constant psychological games and theatrical performances that other people seem to enjoy, then you belong right here with us. You are part of a rare group of individuals who seek truth and tranquility in a world that is often obsessed with manipulation and loud distractions. Thousands of years ago, the great Stoic philosophers walked the very same path. They understood that the masses are easily swayed by grand gestures and silver tongues, but true wisdom belongs to those who observe human behavior with cool, detached rationality. They built an impenetrable fortress within their own minds, and today you are going to learn exactly how to do the exact same thing. We are not just exploring this dark side of human behavior out of morbid curiosity. We are doing this because understanding these signs can literally save your emotional life. The Stoic thinkers taught us that our perceptions shape our reality, and when someone else is secretly trying to bend your reality to serve their own selfish desires, you must have the tools to fight back intellectually. We are going to embark on a profound journey to decode the 5 unmistakable signs that you are entangled with a truly toxic or malicious person. We will break down their hidden tactics step by step using the timeless principles of Stoicism to strip away their deceptive masks. By understanding these dark psychological patterns, you will no longer be a passive victim of their emotional vampirism. Instead, you will transform into an unshakable observer, perfectly equipped to protect your peace of mind and cultivate only the healthiest, most genuine relationships. I promise you that by the end of our time together, you will possess a newfound clarity that will fundamentally change how you interact with the people in your life. But you must commit to this process and stay with me until the very end. I have prepared a special bonus section that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. In those final minutes, I will share a highly effective foolproof Stoic strategy for setting ironclad boundaries. It is a powerful technique that will allow you to neutralize their toxic influence and completely shut down their manipulation without ever compromising your own virtuous character. So prepare your mind, leave your doubts behind, and let us step forward into the light of reason to unveil the truth behind the very first dangerous sign. The first sign that you are dealing with a truly toxic individual is what we will call the weaponization of charisma. Epictetus once warned that we should carefully evaluate the character of those we allow into our inner circle and look far beyond their initial presentation. It is incredibly important to remember that appearances can be profoundly deceiving. These individuals often have an uncanny ability to walk into a room and instantly light it up, making everyone around them feel uniquely special and deeply valued. They know exactly what to say to make you feel like you have just met your new best friend. At first glance, they seem like the absolutely perfect person to be around. Witty, engaging, and intensely interested in your life. It is overwhelmingly easy to get swept up in their magnetic charm, genuinely thinking you have found someone truly extraordinary. However, the Stoics teach us to look directly past that glittering surface and seek the objective truth through rational thought and careful observation. Imagine you are attending a weekend neighborhood barbecue or a large company gathering. This person is the undeniable life of the event, loudly telling jokes and completely captivating the crowd. For the first hour, it feels fantastic to simply be in their energetic orbit. But as the evening slowly progresses, you begin to notice subtle, disturbing cracks in their flawless facade. You realize they are completely dominating every single conversation, aggressively making everything about themselves. The moment you try to share a personal story or bring up a different topic, They swiftly redirect the spotlight right back to their own achievements or drama. They might constantly talk over you, repeatedly interrupt you, or even subtly put you down in front of others to elevate their own status. These are not merely harmless quirks or the typical signs of an outgoing, extroverted personality. They are glaring red flags. This is exactly where the ancient Stoic principle of apatheia becomes your greatest defense. Apatheia is not about being emotionless. It is a powerful state of being completely undisturbed by external things. By maintaining your emotional balance and refusing to be blinded by the initial excitement of their loud charisma, you can finally see through their charming theatrical act and clearly recognize the deeply self-centered nature hiding underneath. You must also pay close attention to how they react when things do not go perfectly their way. A person who is genuinely kind will handle a minor disagreement with grace. But someone who is merely playing a role to gain your trust will quickly become defensive, subtly angry, or attempt to manipulate the situation to forcefully regain control. Give yourself the necessary space to observe their actions over time, relying on reason rather than completely trusting a superficial first impression. As you look closer at this person who constantly demands the spotlight, you will inevitably uncover the second and perhaps most chilling sign of a toxic nature, which is a profound and complete lack of empathy. The great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote in his private journals about the deep interconnectedness of all humanity, firmly believing that compassion and understanding are the fundamental virtues that hold our society together. He understood that to care for the well-being of others is essentially to care for your own soul. Empathy is the invisible thread that allows us to connect deeply, to offer genuine support during dark times, and to share in the simple joys of life. However, when you are dealing with a truly malicious individual, that thread is completely severed, and you are left staring into an emotional void. Imagine you are going through a remarkably difficult season in your life, and you decide to share something deeply personal and vulnerable with a friend, hoping for just a little bit of comfort or reassurance. Instead of offering a listening ear, they casually brush off your feelings, subtly mock your vulnerability, or immediately pivot the conversation back to their own minor inconveniences. Even worse, consider how they react when you actually succeed. A person devoid of empathy will never genuinely cheer for your achievements. They will sit in silence, subtly undermine your hard work, or somehow find a way to take the credit for themselves. This devastating emotional blindness extends far beyond personal friendships and often infects the workplace. Picture a toxic manager who pushes their team to the absolute brink, demanding 60-hour work weeks without fair compensation, completely ignoring reasonable requests for time off, and publicly criticizing employees just to humiliate them rather than offering constructive guidance. This creates an environment of pure stress where you feel entirely undervalued and physically exhausted. When faced with this kind of heartless behavior, the Stoics would advise you to tightly guard your inner peace and integrity. It is incredibly painful to realize that someone you trusted simply does not care about your feelings. But you must understand that their coldness is a direct reflection of their own broken character. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your personal worth. Do not exhaust your own mental energy trying to squeeze a single drop of compassion from a stone. Instead, carefully observe their consistent pattern of selfishness, whether it is constantly interrupting conversations to talk about themselves or completely refusing to help others when it is clearly needed. And use that rational observation to begin building the emotional distance required to protect your well-being. As you build distance from their emotional void, you will inevitably encounter the third and perhaps most disorienting sign of a toxic person, which is their masterful ability to bend reality entirely to their will. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus firmly believed that our greatest power lies in understanding exactly what is within our control and what is completely outside of it. He taught that we must fiercely guard our perceptions and maintain absolute clarity of thought, no matter what external pressures we face. However, a truly malicious individual will deliberately try to infiltrate your mind and scramble that clarity, using a deeply insidious psychological tactic known as gaslighting. Imagine you finally gather the necessary courage to confront a friend or a romantic partner about something deeply hurtful they recently said to you. Instead of taking mature accountability and offering a genuine apology, they completely flip the script on you. They look you right in the eye and casually claim that the event never even happened, or they aggressively accuse you of being overly sensitive and completely misremembering the entire situation. They might even play the victim and say something manipulative like, "If you were actually a supportive friend, you would not be bringing this up and stressing me out right now." Suddenly you find yourself apologizing to them. This is not a simple, innocent miscommunication. It is a highly calculated psychological attack meticulously designed to make you doubt your own memory, your personal judgment, and ultimately, your own sanity. They twist the objective truth so severely that you become entirely dependent on their distorted version of reality, leaving you feeling constantly confused, powerless, and completely off balance. They might also use superficial charm and excessive flattery as a hidden weapon, showering you with loud compliments only when they need a specific favor, making you feel as though you constantly owe them your time and energy. To defend against this dangerous reality, Bender, you must immediately return to the profound wisdom of Epictetus. You absolutely cannot control their deceitful actions, their theatrical victimhood, or their manipulative words, but you have total and absolute control over your own response. Do not ever allow them to dictate your personal truth. When you start to feel that dizzying sense of confusion and self-doubt during a conversation, take a physical step back and objectively assess the situation without their toxic emotional interference. Trust your own instincts and clearly remember that your personal grip on reality comes entirely from within your own rational mind, not from the distorted funhouse mirror that a manipulative person is holding up in front of you. You might believe that surviving their twisted version of reality is the most difficult challenge you will face when dealing with a toxic individual. But the harsh truth is that the manipulative behaviors we have uncovered so far are merely the opening act. The truly terrifying danger is just around the corner, and the next psychological tactic they use is so incredibly subtle that you might not even realize it is happening until the trap has completely snapped shut around you. If you thought gaslighting was exhausting, you must prepare yourself for what comes next. because the subsequent Stoic lesson we are about to explore might just be the most important survival tool of all. Once a malicious person realizes they cannot easily scramble your perception of reality, they will immediately change their strategy and attempt to cut off your lifelines. They begin a deeply insidious campaign of isolation meticulously designed to separate you from anyone who might offer you genuine perspective or support. The ancient Stoics profoundly understood that human beings are naturally social creatures who thrive and find immense strength within a healthy community. They believed that maintaining strong, supportive relationships is absolutely essential for living a balanced and virtuous life. A toxic individual, however, views your strong support network as a direct threat to their power. Imagine you have always enjoyed a close relationship with your family, or you have a tight-knit group of friends you meet for coffee every single Saturday morning. Slowly, this toxic person starts dropping subtle seeds of doubt into your mind. They might casually say things like your friends do not really appreciate you, or your family simply does not understand you the way that I do. They might even manufacture unnecessary drama right before you are supposed to go out, making you feel so incredibly guilty that you end up canceling your plans just to keep the peace. Over time, your world begins to shrink dramatically until you find yourself completely alone, relying solely on this one toxic individual for all of your emotional support and validation. They want to become the only voice you hear so they can easily dictate your choices without any outside interference. This calculated isolation is absolutely detrimental to your personal growth and your mental well-being because it strips away the very community that keeps you grounded. As your world becomes smaller and your dependency grows, they slowly unlock the door to the fourth and perhaps most damaging sign of an evil nature. It is a level of psychological domination that goes far beyond simple manipulation and strikes at the very core of your personal freedom, leaving you with almost no room to breathe or make your own independent choices. Once you have been successfully isolated from your support network, the toxic individual will inevitably introduce the fourth glaring sign of their true nature, which is an unrelenting desire to control every single aspect of your existence. We can call this the autonomy thief. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who ironically spent a portion of his early life as a physical slave, famously taught that no one can ever truly enslave your mind unless you willingly hand over the keys. He emphasized that maintaining your inner freedom and personal autonomy is the absolute highest priority for living a virtuous and peaceful life. However, a deeply manipulative person will actively try to steal that freedom by deliberately disguising their controlling behavior as genuine concern or profound love. It almost always starts with very small, seemingly harmless suggestions. You might have a friend who constantly insists on choosing every single location you visit, or a romantic partner who says they just want to manage the household budget because you are allegedly not very good with numbers. They might say things like, "I am only doing this because I know what is absolute best for us," or "it is just so much easier if I take care of everything for you." But do not be easily fooled by this artificial sweetness. Underneath that comforting mask of care is a ruthless campaign for total psychological domination. Over time, this controlling behavior will rapidly escalate into a suffocating surveillance state. They might demand constant updates on your exact physical location at all times, ask to scroll through your personal text messages, or firmly insist on knowing the private passwords to your phone and email accounts. They might even try to control your financial independence entirely, forcing you to ask for their explicit permission just to spend $20 at the local grocery store. This severe level of micromanagement is meticulously designed to make you feel completely trapped, anxious, and terrified of making a single independent decision without their prior approval. You end up constantly walking on eggshells, completely paralyzed by the fear of causing an unnecessary conflict. The Stoics viewed this kind of external control, especially financial manipulation, as a modern form of enslavement that must be fiercely resisted. You must wake up and clearly recognize these oppressive behaviors for exactly what they are, which is a direct, aggressive attack on your fundamental human rights. To defend yourself against the autonomy thief, you must actively practice self-sufficiency. Do not ever allow someone else to hold all the power over your financial resources or your daily schedule. You cannot control their deep-seated need to dominate others, but you have the absolute power to calmly look them in the eye and firmly refuse to surrender your hard-earned independence. As you fight to reclaim your personal independence from the autonomy thief, you will inevitably uncover the fifth and perhaps most deeply ingrained sign of a truly malicious individual, which is the constant construction of an elaborate web of deceit. We are not talking about the occasional harmless white lie that someone might tell to spare your feelings. We are talking about pathological lying. The ancient Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius firmly emphasized that living a good life means living in strict accordance with nature, which inherently requires aligning every single one of our actions with objective truth and rational reason. When someone lies pathologically, they are living in direct, violent opposition to this fundamental principle, deliberately creating a completely false reality that serves only their own selfish desires. Pathological liars deceive constantly and often without any apparent logical reason. It usually begins with very small, seemingly innocent embellishments. They might exaggerate a story at a dinner party to make themselves appear far more interesting, or falsely claim they have accomplished incredible things in their past to instantly gain your admiration. But over time, these small fabrications rapidly escalate into a suffocating maze of dishonesty. Consider how this dangerous behavior operates in a professional environment. You might have a coworker who confidently lies about their professional qualifications, blatantly takes the full credit for a massive project you spent 50 agonizing hours working on, or intentionally spreads completely false, malicious rumors about other colleagues just to ruthlessly sabotage them and climb the corporate ladder. In intimate personal relationships, this relentless dishonesty is even more destructive. Imagine a romantic partner who constantly lies about their exact whereabouts, what they were doing, or even how they truly feel about you. When you eventually catch them in a glaring contradiction and confront them with the undeniable evidence, they do not offer a genuine apology. Instead, they double down on their falsehoods, aggressively weaving an even more complex and confusing narrative, mixing just enough partial truth into their lies to make you seriously doubt your own memory and second-guess your own rational instincts. They thrive on creating this constant chaotic instability, because keeping you entirely off balance makes it infinitely easier for them to maintain their absolute control. To survive this toxic web, you must actively channel the profound wisdom of the Stoic philosopher Seneca, who taught that our true peace comes entirely from within our own minds, and that we must never allow the desperate deceit of others to disturb our inner tranquility. You must practice extreme vigilance and completely refuse to take their dramatic words at face value. When you interact with a pathological liar, you absolutely cannot control their compulsion to distort the truth, but you have the complete power to firmly trust your own independent judgment and strictly protect your own unwavering integrity by refusing to participate in their exhausting, twisted games. Now that you know how to identify their exhausting web of deceit, you are probably asking yourself how you can successfully protect yourself from these relentless manipulations without losing your own sense of humanity. As I promised at the very beginning of our journey together, it is time to finally reveal the ultimate shield against a truly toxic individual, which is the absolute necessity of establishing ironclad, unwavering boundaries. The ancient Stoic philosophers firmly understood that protecting your peace of mind is not a selfish luxury. It is your highest fundamental duty. Setting a boundary is never about being cruel or aggressively punishing the other person. Instead, it is a profound and powerful declaration of your own inherent self-worth. When you draw a firm line in the sand and clearly state that you will no longer tolerate being disrespected, lied to, or manipulated, you are physically building an impenetrable fortress around your inner tranquility. You must communicate these personal limits with absolute clarity and complete consistency. If a coworker constantly belittles your hard work or a once close friend repeatedly crosses the line, you must calmly look them directly in the eyes and inform them that you will permanently distance yourself if the unacceptable behavior continues for even one more second. When you finally enforce these rules, you will inevitably face intense and immediate pushback. A toxic person might react with explosive defensive anger or attempt to heavily guilt-trip you into backing down, because manipulative individuals absolutely despise it when they lose their hidden power over your emotions. But you must remain as steadfast as a massive mountain standing firm against a crashing storm. Do not ever compromise your fundamental principles or sacrifice your mental health just to temporarily appease someone who secretly takes pleasure in causing you psychological pain. As we bring our exploration to a close, I want you to deeply internalize one of the most powerful and sobering concepts in all of Stoic philosophy, known as memento mori. This is the profound daily reminder that our time in this physical world is incredibly finite, and it is simply far too precious to waste on those who actively seek to tear us down. Now, so let that undeniable fact completely determine what you do, what you say, and exactly who you allow into your inner personal space. You absolutely cannot control the destructive actions, the endless lies, or the deep-seated malice of a toxic person. But you can always, without any exception whatsoever, control your own response. You possess the ultimate power to simply walk away, to fiercely protect your emotional energy, and to dedicate your remaining days to cultivating genuine virtue and unshakable peace. Guard your mind closely, stay entirely grounded in the objective truth, and never let anyone else extinguish your inner light. Thank you so much for joining me today and being a vital part of the Stoic Journal community. If you found these insights into human behavior and ancient philosophy helpful for protecting your peace of mind, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below, sharing which sign resonated with you the most. Your support helps us spread this profound wisdom to others who might be struggling with toxic individuals. Make sure to check out one of the suggested videos currently on your screen for even more powerful Stoic strategies. Stay strong, stay wise, and keep living your truth. See you next video.